The purpose of the foundation is to encourage research in those factors that will have the greatest importance for the future of humanity.
The foundation has no ideas as to what that future ought to be, has no feelings for or has no preference as to who should make these decisions concerning the long-term future of humanity.
Today, the knowledge of humanity about what really makes things the world tick, the really decisive elements that will influence the future, are very poorly known. It's not one person who will be able to tell this. That will come out very poorly. And I think many people they know much better than a single person.
We bring together scholars from around the world, from various backgrounds, to give you an idea. There are people who know about the environment and resources. So we bring together a cross-section, a mix of these groups of people.
Any of you have any comments or questions or things you want to put on the table?
What it requires is a multidisciplinary approach in answering the question that is being raised.
Behind all of this question of ignorance and knowledge comes the issue of power, who can impose his or her
These
will.
are things that science could be applying itself to enable better kinds of declarations to emerge, to sustain the level of complexity.
Find any scientific way of establishing that a 1 micron little bit of organic matter has consciousness.
In judging importance, you've got some set of utilities, you propose these.
There may be emergence in all of this that we're going to.
I think we have an opportunity here with the cosmic evolutionary scenario, broadly viewing evolution over the entire arrow of time, to understand that ethical evolution may be the next great evolutionary leap forward.
Having taken charge of evolution in the sense that we now control the manner in which we will evolve into the future, how will we behave?
The collective intelligence, both scientific and intuitive and social, of the human species, I believe is the potential knowledge of how not only to sustain ourselves on this planet, but to evolve ourselves.
We're in the throes of the most profound, momentous disruptions to our biophysical condition that we've been in the whole history of the human species.
In addition to the seminars, that is the flagship, we do what are called workshops on human evolution and workshops on knowledge-based fields in order to support the discussions that take place in the Humanity 3000 series. So under the aegis or the auspices of the Center for Human Evolution, which is a small sub-organization within the foundation, we organize workshops that explore different aspects of human evolution. We have so far conducted 3 of them, and in those the subjects were how did human intelligence evolve, and what do we mean by evolution itself? How does it work, and how is it likely to work in the future? That's a subset of the Foundation's programs. In addition to that, we do workshops that serve as background materials for scholars coming to the Humanity 3000 seminar series. We call them knowledge-based workshops, and there we plan to hold quite a few of them.
Business, science, breakthroughs, intelligence in physics, quantum physics.
We have a grants program where we give out grants to scholars from anywhere in the world to do research on some aspect of the long-term future of humanity. We have chosen a 1,000-year horizon to make sure that the activities of the Foundation is an ongoing process, is an ongoing dialogue about the long-term future of humanity.
It's not a normal human condition to worry about future generations. The foundation main purpose is to make people aware that long-range future is important. And all we ask, stop doing the crazy things you are doing today.
In 1957, the Soviet Union launched Sputnik, the world's first artificial satellite. This achievement shocked Americans and triggered a Cold War space race that lasted more than 30 years. In 1961, Soviet cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin became the first man to orbit the Earth. In the United States, Project Mercury launched Americans into orbit.
View is tremendous. Roger, understand, go for at least 7 orbits.
Both nations continued with bolder efforts.
Discovery тоже великолепен. $1 million, almost picked up.
Until Apollo 11 landed on the moon in 1969. America had won the moon race, but a new competition to build orbiting space stations was underway. While the Soviet Union tested Salyut space stations, America launched Skylab. Then, in a bold move, U.S. President Richard Nixon signed a historic agreement for a joint Soviet-American rendezvous in space, the Apollo-Soyuz test project.
Beautiful sight. It's a great world.
Contact capture.
Nice
shot.
When Alexei Leonov and Tom Stafford shook hands in orbit in 1975, it opened a door for further space cooperation that still lay 20 years in the future. By the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, Russia's Mir space station was the largest and most sophisticated orbital complex ever assembled. But the resources to continue operations were limited. The United States invited the Russian Space Agency to join in construction of the new International Space Station.
By joining our efforts, we are able to create a whole that is greater than the sum of its parts.
The 9 joint missions to Mir gave both countries and their European partners valuable experience in planning and working together to realize the dream of peaceful cooperation in space.
That's the deal. It's red.
These agreements led to a series of joint Russian-American flights to Mir beginning in 1995.
Now that the world is changing in front of us, quite new relations are being established between the United States and Russia, turning into new relations of partners, into new relations which support each other in each and every field. This cannot help but affect cooperation in space.
We are leaving a millennia defined by conflict and war, by inventions of new weapons. And as we enter a new millennia, we have to learn on this very small planet how to live and work together.
The 9 joint missions to Mir gave both countries and their European partners valuable experience in planning and working together to realize the dream of peaceful cooperation in space.
Fisherman's market, like the ocean in the desert. desert